Tough series loss in New York against the Mets. Got to move on, take on a team that's red hot, one of the hottest teams in baseball. But are they really all that good? Get to all that coming up next on this 4th of July edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That was a tough one. I thought they were going to find a way to squeeze that game out. Lost, low-scoring game, 3-2 in New York. Dropped the final two games of that series against the Mets. Move on, take on Miami. Quick turnaround for the Brewers this weekend. Hey, everybody, Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers podcast host, proud host of Locked On Brewers. Great to be with you on the 4th of July. And I hope you get a chance to view this weekend. I know 4th of July holidays in the summer like this in Wisconsin, there's a lot going on. You know, the roads going, and I live right off 41. So I see all the traffic going north on Thursday already and enjoying the beautiful weekend that we're going to have here. So I hope you all have a chance to view the podcast, listen to the podcast. And of course, you know, if you're going up north in northern Wisconsin this weekend, I know you'll all be taking the game in one form or the other, either listening to it on the radio or viewing it or whatever, because, you know, Brewers are a summer tradition. And, yep. And 4th of July weekend, hey, in the media, this is what we do. We work Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sunday nights, whatever it takes to get the job done, because we're reporting on sports. This is when this stuff happens. But hey, if you view this podcast or listen to this podcast this weekend, thank you for taking some time out of your 4th of July weekend. One Brewer fans to another, because I'm telling you, I really do appreciate it. And man, because I would not be here. Would not, just like the Brewers would not be in Milwaukee without you fans, I would not be here without you great Brewers fans. And this episode brought to you by Gametime. Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase with Gametime. No Yelly or Terang in the starting lineup. Lefty on the hill, 6'6", big lefty. Peterson on the hill for the Mets. Yelly, who pinch hit later in the game, played a kind of a controversial role in this, and Terang had the night off. And I'll start there. Terang, yeah, he's been playing a lot, playing every day. Monasterio made his first start since June 4th. And I know I want to see Terang in there too. And I don't care. I've always said Frelick and Terang, I don't care if there's a lefty on the mound. I still want to see those guys play against left-handers. And Frelick was in there, Terang was not. But you do got to keep other guys fresh just in case you need them. Monasterio, who homered, and some would argue maybe he should have got to a ground ball in the 6th inning off the bat of Soto. But you got to get Monasterio in there, because you just can't let him sit in the cooler and not play day after day after day, because sooner or later you're going to need him. I know you want to play your best guys. But, and especially coming off a loss last night, you want to come back with your best lineup. And Yelly, and again, part of it too is a night game. Got a night game. You know, they got on a flight. They're getting into Miami late, and then they got. It didn't help that this game got delayed either, so which delays their flight going into Miami. And you know, they got to pick it up and play. I know some of you are going to say, "Well, it's just baseball. These guys are but still, it's the travel and all that. Travel sucks. It does. And even if you're a ball player, and these guys do fly first class and have the private plane, but still, take it for somebody who's done that before, not as a player, but as a broadcaster. Man, after a while, you just hate getting on airplanes, whether it's a private plane or a charter plane or whatever. It does. So they got into Miami. Maybe about the time you listen to this podcast or view this, because I dropped this very, very early in the morning on the 4th of July. But still, maybe that had something to do with it. Yelly later did double, or he singled opposite field in the 9th inning with one out. Got thrown out trying to steal second base. Bang, bang play. Brewers were never going to win that review. New York. Review is in New York. Ty goes to the runner. Ty was not going to go to the Milwaukee Brewers here. You know, we all jumped up and said, hey, Ty goes to the runner. That fictional phrase that we all used in backyard baseball and playing the playground back in the day. Ty goes to the runner. I thought he was safe. I thought he was safe. I really did. And I'm taking the Brewer fandom out of it. I thought he was safe at second base, but he wasn't. But when they went to replay, I thought, all right, replay New York. The Mets are struggling. Major League Baseball wants to get, this is the way I think, because I honestly, sometimes I feel this way, and I don't think I'm too far off sometimes. They want to get the Mets back on track, you know, because it's good for baseball. It's good for business. If the Mets are winning and doing well, it is big market, Major League Baseball. I look at that way. They want a few markets to succeed, and maybe I'm crying sour grapes, but let's face it, Brewers fans, that was never going to go the Brewers' way, that play. And even if he was safe, who knows if they would have got the run in. And that's the way Brewers Frelick ended up striking out to end the game. And that was that right there. And the Brewers lost the final 2 games of the series. They're 4 games behind the Cubs. And the Cubs swept that 3-game series from Cleveland. It was a scoreless tie all game long. I had that game on my iPad. And Cleveland had a couple of chances, but Cubs found a way to sweep that series. So the Brewers are 4 games out going into the series with Miami. We're going to touch on Miami a little bit later on because I don't think they're that good. I don't think they are that good at all. Quintana seems to have problems these days. 3rd time around the order. The guy's a veteran, upper 30s. I'm not too worried about it. I think he's been terrific for the Brewers so far this year. You know what? Score more than 2 runs. That's what I always say. So nothing on Quintana here. Again, that seeing eye single that Quintana looked after that play, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. It looked like he was a little frustrated with the defensive alignment a little. Just my view on that. Maybe I'm wrong, but still, Quintana takes the loss. And, you know, you can't look at this series while they got beat by the star-prone Mets. You know, there's one, I think the Mets spending $500 million on a player is just completely foolish. I would say that if there's the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, we all want the Brewers to spend a little bit more money, right? We want the Brewers to spend a little bit more money. But for the production that Soto's been giving them, and he was on base in this series and all that, the overall production is not going to be ever worth $500 million. So that's just stupid money to spend. But the Brewers need to start spending more money, but not stupid like that, like the Mets have been doing. And the Mets have spent money on a few different guys. Frankie Montas, they're not going to get the $17 million a year out of Frankie Montas. I mean, I would have never wanted the Brewers, and I said this in the offseason, never would have wanted the Brewers to spend $17 million for Frankie Montas. And the Brewers are better off without him anyway. You got better pitchers than that. So no, it wasn't the star power. I still think the Brewers, even though the Mets have some star power on there, I think the Brewers are still a better team. I really do. And they lost 2 or 3 this weekend, so maybe the Mets are. Who knows? But Pete Alonso is having a great year. And he put that one off the left center field fence off of Mears, first ball hitting, crushed it off the center field fence, left center field fence. And he did that little dance. God, I hate that dance. I don't know how you all feel about that, but I hate that the Dodgers do that kind of a dance, and the Mets, and I don't know what that symbolizes or what that means, but man, they get second base and they do this, and I'm like, I don't know. Whatever motivates you, I guess. But move on to Miami, and we'll have that covered beginning on Sunday night. We'll drop some short YouTube post-game videos. I'm hoping to do that this weekend as well. All right. We come back. Cortez through. I don't think Cortez is here for the long run, at least, I mean, for the remainder of the season, even though he's under contract for the rest of the season. I feel like the Brewers are going to showcase him. The Miz gets an honor. Somebody asked me a question about the Miz. We're going to bring that up. And a few other things as well we'll get to. on this 4th of July edition of Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Hope you're all enjoying the 4th again. This episode brought to you by Gametime. We're going to the Dodgers series next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Gametime makes getting tickets a whole heck of a lot easier. As I always say, once you get inside that 2 hours or even that 1 hour between, before the game, that's when ticket prices really drop on Gametime. You can save a lot of money. Killer last-minute deals on the Gametime app. And also, hey, you always wonder, where's your seat going to be when you buy these tickets? Well, with Gametime, they take that secret out because you could punch right on the app where you want to sit. But that ticket, it's going to show you a view of where you're going to be seeing your game. Panoramic seat view, Gametime. The price you see is the price you pay. They're not going to be stacking on all sorts of hidden fees. So take the guesswork out of buying concert, show, comedy, whatever. Go to the Gametime app, download it, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You get $20 off your first purchase. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed with Gametime. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. By the way, if you want to download our podcast, go to any one of those audio platforms, Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all those major podcast downloads. And, of course, our growing YouTube page. If you're already listening to us on the audio, please go to our YouTube page, subscribe, go to Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That alerts you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers daily. Daily after Brewer games, late night, early morning. We're here talking Brewers baseball with you. Not only about the game, but some of the things that surrounding the Brewers, minor league rehabs, news with the Brewers, whatever, trade potentials. Carlos Santana available? Are they going to pick him up again this year? Cortez. I feel like the Brewers are showcasing him. He's coming off the elbow that he injured earlier in the year. 3 innings pitched, 1 hit in his rehab start last night. He's supposed to make another rehab start. And there was a report a couple of weeks ago saying that the Brewers are going to hopefully show the rest of baseball that he's healthy so they can deal him. There's no room for Cortez in this rotation. There's no future for Cortez with the Milwaukee Brewers. So maybe you might be able to get something for him, right? Prospect, package him in a deal, but I would believe he's a trade piece. The Journal Sentinel did a one-on-one interview with him, and I thought it was pretty fascinating. These one-on-one interviews the guys do. So Cortez was asked about playing in Milwaukee and said good things. Generally, players always say good things about playing in Milwaukee. And he talked about this, though. I thought this was funny. As players, we want to have one night where we go out and have a few drinks with the boys or a few drinks with your wife and stuff like that. But things end at 2 a.m. here, so you can't really do that, which I think is a good thing for you. So 2 a.m., way too early for him. Way too early. Can't get it done by 2 a.m. Cortez wants those all-night places. And the bar time in Wisconsin used to be 3:30 back in the 80s on a Saturday night. But 2 a.m. here. Yeah, you want to go out and have some drinks. Be able to enjoy drinks with your friends, with the guys, and your wife and all. But you just can't do that in Milwaukee because at 2 a.m. you got to shut it down. I thought that was pretty funny. 2 a.m. I don't think 2 a.m. I'm okay with wrapping things up at 2 a.m. Stop me at 1:30 or 2. I'm good with that. But Cortez thought 2 a.m. was a little early to be winding things down. And I get it. And, you can always go to somebody's house and you don't have to worry about it. But 2 a.m. Somebody once said nothing good happens after midnight. Misiorowski, rookie of the month in the National League. And yes, he had a great month of June. Now, somebody tweeted at me, and I don't have the name offhand, but I forget. There actually was a couple of people who tweeted at me. Said, is that to a point where we sign Miz to a long-term deal? I'll say this, not right now. Not that I don't think the guy's got a load of talent, because obviously on talent alone, of course, but the fact that he's a pitcher, I think it's way too early in the process on that, because you didn't, with these pitchers, who knows? I mean, look at Robert Gasser. Okay. And Miz may be all fine and well, health-wise, throughout his, the next 6 years. But I think the Brewers aren't even thinking about doing what they did with Churio, with the Miz. Because what happens if, God forbid, something happened to him with an arm injury or shoulder injury, and you're on the hook for, $100 million? No, Brewers aren't going down that road anytime soon with the Miz. Let him get his feet wet. Let him continue to develop, and we'll talk down the road. But no, they're not going to do to the Miz what they did with Churio. Even if the Miz went out and won the rest of his games this season, there would be no talk about that, because, again, the injury thing with pitchers, they're so susceptible. Robert Gasser looked great. Look what happened to him. Okay, so the high possibility of injuries for pitchers is the reason at this point, 6 years away from arbitration eligible, do you, not arbitration eligible, free agency, would you, where the Brewers lose control, you wouldn't think of buying him out. Coleman Crow, we haven't heard a lot from Coleman Crow, but we did on his AAA debut with Nashville. He had a nice outing. 4 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs. 4 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs. He was promoted from Biloxi because he was the minor league pitcher of the month for June. Was having a real good year. So he got promoted from Biloxi to AAA. Let's see how he does. Obviously, there's no room right now. Maybe they use him as a trade chip down the road. But they are so stacked with starting pitching right now. So stacked with starting pitching. It's hard to believe that they have this much abundance of starting pitching. And again, you don't even think of Coleman Crow. But here he is rising through the minor league system already to AAA after having a terrific June down at Biloxi at AA. Having a triple. Just a tremendous year. Got another email today. Well, I should say a message, not email. I never get emails from fans. But I get messages on Twitter, and you can write me, Chuck Freeman on Twitter, FREIMUND. Anytime you have a message, a DM message, just send it to me. So someone sent me a DM and asked me, said they were just frustrated. They did not like, and I haven't addressed this, yes, William Contrarus does not run out balls. He does what Manny Machado does. Okay, and I just noticed it this year. Manny Machado, when he hits a ground ball, he is walking the first, and that really gets under my skin. Contrarus on a pop-up the other night barely moved. And Rattino kind of alluded to that. He said it would have been a bad look if the ball had been dropped, and he's right. What if on one of these ground balls to short, Contrarus, who's jogging the first base, what if that ball is dropped at first base? Does he get punished? Now, I don't know if Murphy's ever said anything or if there's something where Contrarus doesn't run out these ground balls. It's just, it's not a problem, but I just find that odd. Guy who hustles, playing hurt and all that he doesn't run out ground balls. Like I said, if that pop fly and Vinny's right, that pop-up would have dropped in fair territory, and Contrarus is standing there, yeah, that is a bad look. And Murphy probably loses his mind. But, yeah, it has not gone unnoticed that Contrarus jogs out balls that are little ground balls. And somebody's going to say, well, you're making too big of a deal. Well, it's not that it's not going to be a big deal until again somebody drops the ball at first base. And I know these guys are professionals, but I've seen it happen before. We'll see. I'm going to ask around. I'll be covering the series next week against the Dodgers, so I'm going to ask around, see what the feeling is on that. What's the reason why Contrarus is jogging out balls? All right, we come back. We'll get into the Miami Marlins, who the Brewers open up a series with tonight. Quick turnaround. We'll get to that coming up next as we head down the stretch here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen to on Locked On Brewers. We're brought to you by Monarch Money. We did it again. We got to start paying attention to Monarch Money because it tells us here in our household, we spend too much money going out. So before we got a little golf in, went out and got a little breakfast. And Monarch Money says that we spend too much. Now that's on us. Monarch Money says we spend too much money going out to eat, she and I. And that's a problem. That's where the money goes. You know, you get lazy and you don't have any food in the house. You didn't go to the store. Monarch Money tells you where all your money is being spent. Maybe you spend too much money on buying stuff online or whatever. Monarch Money is going to tell you wherever you're wasting your money, wherever your paychecks are going, Monarch Money, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. You and your significant other sharing the finances, this is perfect for you. Take control of your finances. Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. 50% off your first year. So you're going to save on that. It's going to tell you where all your money is being spent, where you're spending your money foolishly, monarchmoney.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, half off your first year with Monarch Money. Again, thanks for making us your first listen to every day. All right, Miami. Now, Miami has won 9 of its last 10. They had an 8-game winning streak snapped on Wednesday, came right back on Thursday and beat the Minnesota Twins. And Miami didn't all of a sudden become a good team. They're still 6.5 out of the wild card. They're double digits they're never going to be in the National League East race with the Mets and the Phillies. I don't know what the Marlins aren't that talented of a team. This really is an accident. They tripped it. Well, they did, they were playing well. They've won 9 of their last 10, but that's not going to hold up. They're doing it with a mixture of young guys and older players like Alcantara, who we're going to see Friday night, who are on the trade block. It's just an odd combination. And I know Miami made a playoff run a couple of years ago, but this team is not made to go to the playoffs, and they're going to be sellers. They've won 9 of 10. Even though they're 6.5 out, they have a bad budget, as we all know, and this is definitely not a team on the rise. They're playing well. But I do not look at them as a good team. Brewers still got to go out there and respect them down in Miami tonight and this weekend and take 2 or 3 because the Marlins are playing well, but they're not. They're 7 games under the 500 mark. They're 46. They're 39 and 46, but there's a lot of guys who are going to be trade bait on that team. Playing a team that's hot, I'm okay with. I'd rather play a team that's hot than a team like the Mets who were struggling, just like Atlanta. In fact, that's the last time the Brewers had won a series is when they beat Atlanta a month ago, and Atlanta came in Milwaukee struggling. Same thing with the Mets. The Mets were struggling mightily, and they ended up winning 2 or 3 from Milwaukee. On the other hand, Miami's playing well. Again, 9 of 10. Priester goes in game 1 tonight. Sandy Alcantara trying to rehab, coming off that injury. He's had his rehab. 4-8, ERA close to 7. Has had a couple of nice starts, mostly bad, but he's going to be trade bait out there for somebody. And no, I don't want the Brewers to go down that road. In fact, they don't need any starting pitcher, as we talked about. Cal Quantrill against Chad Patrick on Saturday. It's an afternoon game. And then Woodruff makes his long-awaited return against Edward Cabrera coming up on Sunday. And that's it. Brewers and Marlins. Marlins are one of those teams that's tough to get fired up when you watch them, right? Isn't it? Just like the Pirates. Watch them. The Pirates are playing some good baseball. Man, they are playing well. All right, that's going to do it. Again, thank you, everybody. If you had a chance, hey, snap me some pictures. What you're doing this 4th of July weekend. You're on the lake. You're watching Brewers baseball, whatever you're doing. Man, people, people last weekend were sending me pictures on Twitter of going to Minnesota. Was it 2 weekends ago? Going to Minnesota. I love those. Love those. Show me your pictures. Let me know what you're doing. Send them to me on my Twitter account. DM me, Chuck Freeman, Freimund. Anytime you got a question, you can always DM me. You can follow me on Facebook as well if you want. Hey, Facebook, it's just not for friends. It's for fans. It's for everybody. That's why I look at it. We're all in one big community. Hit me up on Facebook if you like as well. Chuck Freeman, Freimund. And please subscribe to the podcast. It's all free. Go to Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. I'm trying to hit 5,000 subscribers. And then also on all the audio platforms we are, hit an alert button on there. Hit a subscription there. And that'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Follow me on Twitter, in fact, because I always let you know when those episodes are dropped. And they're dropped daily here on Locked On Brewers. Have yourself a great 4th of July weekend. Stay safe, and everybody. And go Brewers. Let's take 2 or 3 and maybe even a sweep down in Miami. But I'd take 2 or 3. And then the Dodgers. We got a big series to preview. We'll do this on Sunday night with the Dodgers. Look ahead to the LA coming to town. It's going to be a big series. They just came off sweeping the White Sox this week. A bad White Sox team. The Dodgers were able to take care of business on. All right. Have yourself a great weekend. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.